Hi there. When it comes to chanting the Psalms or Canticle, there are certain symbols that we need to take note of, and the symbols are as follows. The first symbol that we need to take note of is what we call an asterisk. This indicates where the chant for the present line ends, followed by the chant for the subsequent lines. So for example, if a particular verse of the psalm has got 4 lines, and if you are using a 2-line chant, then the first chant tone of the 2-line chant will be used for the first line. The second tone of the 2-line chant will be used for the second line. Then you go back to the first tone of the 2-line chant for the third line, and the second tone for the 2-line chant for the fourth line. If you notice a bracket, this indicates that the present verse of the psalm is to be said or chanted with the next verse. We'll look at some examples in a while. In this example of a psalm, you'll notice that for there he keeps me safe in his tent, there is a asterisk behind. That becomes the first line. In the day of evil becomes the second line. He hides me in the shelter of his tent becomes the third line. On a rock, he sets me safe. That becomes the fourth line. So when we are chanting this particular verse, the first line uses, for example, if it's a 2-line chant, the first line uses the first tone. In the day of evil, the second line becomes the second tone. The third line, he hides me in the shelter of his verse, goes back to the first tone. On a rock, he sets me safe, becomes the second tone of the 2-line chant. If we use an example of a 2-line chant, la 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 la, for that he keeps me safe in his tent. In the day of evil, he hides me in the shelter of his tent. On a rock he sets me safe. So you notice that the example which I gave you uses a 2-line chant. First tone for the first line, second tone for the second line, first tone for the third line, and second tone for the fourth line. Here in this example, you also see that there's a bracket there. What this means basically is that for this particular verse, instead of 2 separate verses, you combine it into 1 verse. So if you were to recite it, you will recite it as follows. And now my head shall be raised above my foes who surround me, and I shall offer within his tent a sacrifice of joy. I will sing and make music for the Lord. Notice that in this example, I will sing and make music for the Lord is combined with the previous verse to make it one entire verse. How this is chanted, we will look at it in a while. The third symbol that we need to take note of is what we call a tick symbol, which refers to the emphasis needed when the psalm is being chanted. These are chant marks, which are only relevant if the psalm is chanted. Otherwise, we normally ignore the tick symbol. So when we are chanting this particular psalm, for example, it is good to give thanks to the Lord, to make music to your name, O Most High. Notice that I am emphasizing on the words good, thanks, Lord, music, name, high. It does not mean that when we chant this, we have to purposely emphasize it, but it's for us to take note that that's where the emphasis is when it comes to the chanting. Let us look at an example of a 2-line chant using this particular verse. La 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 la. It is good to give thanks to the Lord, to make music to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your love in the morning and your truth in the watches of the night. On the 10-string lyre and the lute, with the murmuring sound of the harp. Normally, we don't have to overemphasize the words with the tick. But if you want to do so, try to do it in a bit more discreet manner. The next symbol that we need to take note of is what we call a cross or plus symbol. If the plus symbol is next to an antiphon, then the rest of the first verse of the psalm is recited or chanted immediately. If it is found after a particular line of a verse, the same tone is to be maintained and chanted for the next line of the verse. So what does this all mean? Let us look at some examples. Here we see an example of how there is a cross symbol or plus symbol next to the word fear. If you notice here in antiphon 1, the Lord is my light and my help, whom shall I fear? So there's a plus symbol or cross symbol at the word fear. When you are reciting this, it means that instead of repeating the antiphon again, which is already mentioned in the first two lines of the first verse of the psalm, we go straight to the Lord is a stronghold of my life, before whom shall I shrink? So if we were to chant this using the same tune, la 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 la, the Lord is my light and my help, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life, before whom shall I shrink? So in this example, I chanted straight away the antiphon and the first verse at one go, instead of repeating the antiphon again. If the plus symbol or cross symbol is at the end of a verse, what this means is you continue the same tone of the particular verse before you continue with the next tone of the next verse. So in this example, if you look at this last verse of this particular psalm, and now my head shall be raised above my foes who surround me. So, and now my head shall be raised becomes the tone of a two-line chant, the first tone of a two-line chant. Above my foes who surround me would be the second tone of a two-line chant. And I shall offer within his tent a sacrifice of joy will become the third line of the first tone of a two-line chant. I will sing and make music for the Lord becomes the fourth line of a two-line chant using the second tone of a two-line chant. So you notice that the plus symbol or the cross symbol basically means that you combine, in this example, line 3 and line 4 to make it line 3 or one line. If we were to chant this, it would sound as follows. Same tune. La 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 la. And now my head shall be raised above my foes who surround me, and I shall offer within his tent a sacrifice of joy. I will sing and make music for the Lord. Notice that I hold the note, I shall offer within his tent a sacrifice of joy. And I shall offer within his tent a sacrifice of joy. I will sing and make music for the Lord. So as you can see, the symbols are important for you to be able to chant the psalms or canticles properly. Of course, it takes practice. Rome wasn't built in a day, but after a while, you should be able to get the hang of it. Till we meet again, have a nice day.